So tawau, everybody. Welcome. Tonse, Nisha, Nitsi Kutson. So hello, my name is Nisha. I use the pronouns she and her. Before we get started, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that this webcast is being brought to you from the territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsiel. And we acknowledge that those communities have been the stewards of these lands since time immemorial. So a little bit about me. Again, my name is Nisha. I'm the strategic lead here at Aboriginal Health. And we're so happy that you're joining us for today's Pesca session. So a little bit about Pesca for folks who might be new to the space. This is an opportunity for folks from community and healthcare to come together and to share their knowledge on Indigenous cultural safety. So we're really happy to be welcoming Nicole Cardinal today for a series called Matriarch in Training. We will have a Q&A period at the end of the session. So if you are interested in asking any questions to Nicole about her work, please pop them into the chat box and our team will do our best to get to as many questions as possible. A little bit more housekeeping. We do have future sessions that we'll be providing for Pesca as well. So feel free to visit our Eventbrite page. We can pop that into the chat box for everybody, and hopefully we'll see you at future sessions as well. Nicole, I'm going to pass it on to you to do your introductions, and perhaps you can also tell us a little bit about the images and your background as well.
Hadi Tsubuzi, Nicole Cardinal Hesley, C. Stellat'en Wet'suwet'en, Snachalya, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, Indi Yanket Jan Sasien, Masi. Hello, my name is Nicole Cardinal and I come from Stellat'en. My community is 2.5 hours west of Prince George off Highway 16. I am Dakelh Wet'suwet'en on my mother's side, and I am Irish and Ukrainian on my father's side. Really quickly about me, I am a mom of 2, and today is my oldest daughter's 14th birthday, so I'm going to do a shout out to my daughter Kailani. Happy birthday, sunshine. My role, so I am the Aboriginal Health Strategic Lead for the Indigenous Women and Children's Family Health Portfolio at VC Aboriginal Health. It's a new portfolio. We're super excited, and they have a new director named Miranda Kelly. And I am also the project lead for the Perinatal Substance Use Project. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. I was hired 6 months ago, and straight out of grad school, I've completed my master's in Indigenous Community Planning, and happy to be in the health field supporting Indigenous women. And Nisha asked about the image behind me, so I'm gonna, what is it? I'm gonna say right off the bat in my disclaimer, I am not a natural Dakelh speaker. And so please forgive me, matriarchs and beloved elders watching for my butchering of my language, but I have to take the first step and be brave and say words in my language. So the image behind me is my clan crest, and his name is Gidam Skinnies, and he is a trickster, but this is my clan crest, and so I am part of the Laxiliu clan, and I am part of the Little Man clan. The Laxiliu is the caribou, but the Little Man is a sub-clan, and there's a lot more to that, but this is my clan.
Well, thanks for sharing, Nicole. We're so excited to have you here today. What I'm going to do is for folks that are helping me on my team, if we could bring up Nicole's presentation, that would be fantastic. So Nicole, I just got word that we're just pulling up the
Okay,
PowerPoint. Should just be one moment.
no worries. I'll just smile.
Oh, there we go.
Okay.
And then Nicole, whenever you're wanting us to move on to the next slide, if you just say next slide, our team will be able to move that for you. Is this looking like the first slide, Nicole? Is it all good?
Yeah, it's looking like a different view on my end. Is there a reason for that? Sorry, my apologies.
No problem.
Well,
Yeah, it looks
I
like we can
see.
see someone's on the side and then also,
Okay, yeah, yeah. So the
yeah.
land acknowledgement, we just did that, you and I both. So we'll just go on to the next slide. My apologies. Yep. Next slide. I just introduced myself. Thank you. Yeah, there's a poster. Okay, this is it. We'll stop here. Okay, so yeah, I think it is in presenter's view. You can see the next slide. So I'm wondering if there's a different.
Avanti, is it possible to have it transferred so it's no longer in this view? And
Sorry,
thanks for
just one
folks.
moment, please. Yeah, I'll fix this.
Yeah, and thanks for
Okay.
folks for being patient with us on the call. You know, these events are live.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So oh, well, wait. Well, while I'm waiting, I'll just also say, um, I have been in Vancouver for over 30 years. So I I'm learning a lot about my family and my culture and my history, as a lot of Indigenous folks are. This story I'm about to share, my hopes and my dreams is to inspire our community to go above and beyond our call of duty and what it means to be of service. And so what I want to share with you all today is our clanship, what it means to be a clan mother or clan member, and just how when people come together, beautiful things can happen. And so the story is kind of is a is a great way to kind of share that. So I'm hoping it'll inspire others, and yeah, you'll get to take this wonderful story away that I'm still learning. And so that's another disclaimer really quickly. There's so many layers to this story. Lots of people involved, but the overarching theme is to be of service.
I appreciate you saying that, Nicole, because, you know, as healthcare providers, you know, a lot of us who get into this helping field, we're there because we want to be helpers, right? And so
Yes.
I think your story is going to really resonate with a lot of people who are joining us on this call today. While we're waiting for the PowerPoint to appear on the screen, maybe you could tell us a little bit about the title of the session, so Matriarch in Training.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Okay.
so why that particular title?
Okay, so matriarch in training comes from being a clan member in training, as I call it. To be a matriarch in training in our culture, it is earned to learn the ways of the potlatch. Most people will understand it's a potlatch, understand it as a potlatch, but to us it's a way of life, and it's a governance system, and there's a lot of things in place to ensure that um, business gets done in a good way. So uh, for those who don't know, a clan system, so this is perfect. This is where we can start. This is going to be a great slide, so thank you for that. So this is a great map of BC just to kind of give you an idea of the diverse nations within British Columbia itself. So I want to give a shout out to the Rocky Mountains. Because of those Rocky Mountains, colonialism didn't really make it over here as quick as it did on the other side of things. So there's a lot of preservation in a lot of different nations. We had you know, a very rich and big territory. So where I come from is the little red dot there you see is Prince George and that Dakelh territory there. So I'm an hour and a half west of Prince George. If you're familiar with the country, there's this BC's geographical center is Vanderhoof. And I was born in Vanderhoof. So if you don't know anybody who was born in Vanderhoof, it's official. You do now. I was born in Vanderhoof, and 30 minutes away from Vanderhoof is Fraser Lake, and about a minute and a half away from Fraser Lake is the village of Stellat'en. And that's where I come from. And you can see the Wet'suwet'en and the Dakelh territory is tied together. So we are family. There's some family ties. Like I said, I'm still learning about my rich family history, but I am both Wet'suwet'en and Dakelh. And I just learned probably within the last 10 years that I was Wet'suwet'en. So there's a bigger story to that. But this is to give an idea of where we are. So if you see where Vancouver is at the bottom to Prince George, you can see how far I am away from my home. But I've been fortunate to go home almost every summer of my life. That was the one thing my mom did, was send me home to the res. As soon as school was out, I was gone. So I've had the absolute wonderful time of growing up on the land with my cousins, swimming in the water. So yeah, so that's where I come from. So we'll go to the next slide. Okay, so I was starting to break down a little bit of the clan system. So I know there might be a small blurb about it in school, and then we have a lot of newcomers, and so maybe I'll just give a basic as can be what a clan system is. So so I come from the Tsiel clan, and what it means to be born in the clan is through we're born through the matrilineal line. So in my community, we do have Potlatch, and it's organized in clans. So when you are born to death, from your birth to death, you are taken care of from the clan, your life. And this is a beautiful thing about a clan. We have clans. I'm just grabbing my notes. So in my community, we do have clans, the Tsiel Caribou clan. We have the Bear clan. We have a Frog clan. We have a Beaver clan. And we have Grouse and Owl clan. And I apologize for not saying the traditional names. I want to be respectful. Until I learn them, I won't be saying them, but I come from the Caribou clan, and how these clans all work is when you're born through your mother's side, you follow your mother's line. So I am Tsiel because my mom is Tsiel and her mom is Tsiel, or Little Man clan, and so on and so forth. So it is a hereditary bloodline into the clanship. And if you're not born into the clan, and the way the clan works is you cannot marry somebody in the same clan, obviously, because it's your same bloodline, literally. Like, this is the smartest thing. When you didn't have books, you think about nations with clans and big houses and big communities. And I was thinking, how did marriage work and things like that? So anyways, they had a system all in place, and all you had to say was which clan you were from and which community you came from, and it was determined whether or not you're related. And I'm just going to say, obviously I was related to a lot of people because I married over the Rockies. And that's why my name's Cardinal. So a lot of people wonder how I got a Cardinal name, but I wasn't trying to marry any of my cousins as a joke, right? Everybody laughs because it's true. You're related to a lot of people when you start to look at that. So that's why the clan is important. So if you're say you're not from the clan, and I meet somebody like from Alberta, Saddle Lake Cree Nation, well, what does the clan do? Because he's not a clan member. Oh, well, they'll adopt him. So my husband is now a bear, and my husband is now part of the clan. And he becomes part of the family for life. So now he has responsibilities to the bear clan. And the way our clan system works is also a show of community support. So like I said, from birth to death, the clan is there for you. And we had potlatches for births, naming ceremonies, puberty, weddings, disagreements, celebrations, all sorts of things. But the majority, well, the most of the potlatches I've been to have been the death, bringing our loved ones home, um, and that's where our work comes in. And this is where I'm inspired by my family, my nation, and my clan, because I've seen miracles happen when times are absolutely hard and devastating. When you're going through loss, you're dealing with grief, we've all experienced that, a loss of a loved one. But the clan has a system in place, and instantly we come together and we start planning to honor our loved ones and send them off in a good way. And that includes making sure that they're taken care of, dressed properly. We don't do the work ourselves. We hire the other clans to do the work. So people are bringing the clan food. If we're mourning, they feed us. The other clans are hired to go dig the grave. We do everything ourselves. We transport our loved ones home. We go out into our communities and we honor hereditary chiefs and other clans to come and witness the work that we're doing. And this is days of planning, but we've been doing this for years. And the best way I can explain it is my dad, my mom's ex-husband, Dave Sacco, Italian guy. He came into our family many, many years ago, obviously. And he lives in Ontario now, and he talks very often about his time with my family. And he said, I've been everywhere across Canada, everywhere. He worked in the carnival, he traveled, he was a truck driver, he'd seen it all. And he said, I have never, ever seen a clan or a family like yours. The way you care for your loved ones from the moment they pass on until they're buried, and then you come back a year later and then you honor them again with a headstone. And that was the first time I realized how amazing our clan and our family was. For my dad to share that with me all these years later, it just really struck a chord. So I started to pay attention to it the next time I went home for a gathering. So the clanship really means so many things. But what it really means is being of service and serving others and helping others, and not just yourself. There is no I in clan. That's awesome. I can't be the only one solely responsible for such a big task. I have many clan members, and so this is where I kind of wanted to start talking about the matriarchal system as a matriarch in training. I have many, many things to learn and so many years to go, but I really wanted to talk about my clan and the matriarchs who have inspired me to do this work in VCH and Aboriginal health. For me to be of service and to carry that same spirit, that kinship of caring for others, no matter what my job title is, because as a clan member, we don't stop until the work is done. And the reason why I thought about this was more recently because of the In Plain Sight report. And this is how this conversation started with the ICS team. And I was like, we're all tired of those reports. Um, But it doesn't mean it's impossible to create systematic changes, because the way I would do it is I would make you all clan members. I would make you all honorary clan members, and I want you to hear what I have to say as an honorary clan member today. Today you're all clan members, and I want you to embody what it means to be a clan member, and then hopefully inspire you to go out and do great things within your unit, within your job title, within your cubicle, within your office, whatever you need to do. It's just going to be small changes, and then I hope it leads to thinking outside the box and create the positive changes that we need. And so the only way I can influence you is through the clan system and my own family story. So I'm going to begin, if that's okay now, Nisha. Okay. So on the left here on my screen, I see Marianne Louie, and she is my grandmother. She is my grandmother. She is she was the big chief. She's a clan hereditary chief. And what I'm hearing from my family history and my moms and my aunties, who you'll see shortly, is that she was one of the last ones to be pierced as royalty. So there are customs and traditions I'm unaware of, but to be royalty at that time, she was born on the land. She was born on the land, and she was raised by her great aunt, Jeannie Cho. And Jeannie Cho is legendary in the territory, but my grandma Marianne was pierced, so a stick went through her ear. That made her hereditary. So she is a clan chief, and her name is Guluksam. That's her first name, and she had a second name, Gamita. And so she carried two big names. And to carry a name means a lot in our culture. You have to earn it, first of all. You're not born with them. You have to earn them. And it's a way of life. It's a way of caring for each other. So this is what I'm talking about, embodying being a clan member. We have a responsibility to take care of others and treat others with kindness, no matter how you feel about them. Because I always say this, I'm starting to say this a little more, I'm a clan member before I'm a band member, because I embody those clan member teachings, and that's to treat others with respect. So when we invite you to our house to witness a potlatch, a batlatch, I am going to be the best host ever, because I want to make this my grandmother proud. I never had the pleasure of meeting my grandmother. My grandmother passed away in 1972, before my time. But because it's a hereditary system, the names passed on through the bloodline. So Auntie Eleanor on the right is now Guluksam. This is her daughter. She is now our hereditary clan chief. And I believe that the blanket and her headdress is one of the ones my grandmother got made. But my grandmother made sure that her older children at the time all had names, and she was such a big believer in our culture, in the Potlatch, that her and my grandfather Andrew um, used to travel the back roads to the other side as Smithers and Morristown and Hazelton to go potlatch in secret in the bush. And so right away, I come from a line of resistance, and that's a beautiful thing. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. Here we go. So this is the Louie women. So the one who started it all, there she is. There's Marianne Louie. And the ant pile, that's the name we give the all us cousins gave all our aunts, because to get them all in a pile is such a task at times. So my grandmother and my grandfather had 8 girls and 5 boys. The surviving children are here. I'm missing my 2 uncles from this picture, but I just wanted to show you the matriarchs are strong in the Louis family. So the one who started it all, Marianne Louis, to my aunt Pyle, those are my aunts. Those are all her daughters, and two of them are her daughter-in-laws. And it's a beautiful thing to see my aunties in this picture. And this is where I get my inspiration from. This is where I get my advice from. I just got off the phone with my mom, and before that, my Aunt Yvonne. And anything that I have to deal with, because I'm in Vancouver, I reach out to home quite a bit, especially when it comes to clan business, because we don't have any aunties here. So I kind of have to step up, and our family here has to step up when we have clan business in Vancouver. But they're quick to answer. They're awesome to share, and these aunties are my backbone. I am very grateful for them, because without them, I wouldn't be here. And then below them is the little man table. So this isn't an actual potlatch. The head table is in the middle of the hall, and behind them is the Frog clan, and if in front of them would be the Bear clan, and above them would be the Grouse or the Beaver clan. So we're set up in a hall there, and it's for, I believe, my Uncle Fraser's headstone potlatch. But those are all Louis women and two Louis guys. But for the majority, I'm going to say the Louis line is strong. And so we continue to have this great line of matriarchs coming through from Grandma Marianne. And now we have our daughters. So I think my next presentation, I'll have to have the little generation after us, because yeah, the female gene is strong. Next slide. Okay, that's my grandfather, Andrew Louis, and my uncle Clifford Louis, who I didn't meet. He also passed before my arrival, but this is a wonderful picture of the three of them. So I'm just going to share my story from here. So I kind of touched about the fact that my grandfather and my grandmother were activists and resilient in every way. They potlatched under the ban in secret. My mom, who is the second youngest, was going for car rides on these trips because there was lots of little ones to be taken care of. And my mom said that sometimes they would go to Hazelton and they'd be there for sometimes 3 or 4 days, and they would go straight. And that's because they had a lot of business to take care of. They weren't allowed to potlatch at that time. And so it was interesting to hear that in their travels. And on those travels, they stopped everywhere along the highway and community to visit other members, the sick, those are in need. The times where you actually stopped, got out of your car, walked in, and somebody would make you a cup of tea, a bowl of soup, fresh bread, and grandma would visit everybody. My mom said that's all they did was visit. They would drive up and down from Dakelh to Wet'suwet'en territory, visiting loved ones and communities. And so Stellat'en at the time didn't have a hall. We didn't have a hall. And grandma was like, we need a hall. So not only were they activists and traveling the back roads and potlatching, grandpa was part of the Union of BC Indian Chiefs. And my grandmother was the vice president of the BC Homemakers. It just makes me so proud to hear that she's always been an advocate for family, for children. And grandma recognized that this was starting to wind down the residential schools, so that my aunts and uncles generation were starting to come out of these schools. And there was a lot of alcohol flowing around that time in those communities because of all the hurt and the pain. And for those of you who don't know, Stellat'en, Fraser Lake, is about 10 kilometers from Lee Jack. Lee Jack is a residential school. And that residential school, most of my family were day students because we were a bus ride away. But Lee Jack was really close to our community. So grandma saw the after effects of that and noticed there was a lot of children that didn't have their parents anymore. There was a lot of alcohol. There was lots of things just going on at that time. And grandma didn't as the vice president of BC Homemakers, her focus was on family, children, and housing. My mom said they go to community. She said we even went to sugarcane and we started looking at housing there. So she was an advocate and just working really hard. And so she had a vision of bringing a hall to our community for our children to have and for us to gather and potlatch and celebrate. And she really liked the hall in Morristown is what oh, and oh, I also have to say, I'm going to be using words from that time. So I am going to say Indian agent. I'm going to say Northern and Indian Affairs because at that time, that's what they were. And the community at that time was Morristown Band, but it is now Wet'suwet'en. So at that time, my grandma really liked Morristown Hall and had connections to Indian and Northern Affairs Canada down here in Vancouver in the regional office. And she knew a man named Ben Paul, and he helped her with an application. And so she applied for funding from the First Citizens Grant to apply for hall funding for our community. And to basically make that long story short, my mom went for a car ride to Prince George, and there was a Indian agent there, and mom was, you know, a teenager, and she went into the office with her mom, you know, often and to see the Indian agent. But this trip was different. Mom said she was surprised because he came out and he's like, "Hello, Mrs. Louie." He's like, "I have something for you." And he came out with the blueprints and he gave them to my grandmother. And so somehow grandma got the blueprints from Indian and Northern Affairs Canada and had this vision for a hall for our community. So it, yeah, it happened. And unfortunately, my grandmother was killed in a car accident before she got to see it come to life. And my uncle Clifford, sitting in the picture, was the band manager at the time, and my grandma got the funding from First Nation, First Citizens Fund, and the community started to bring that vision to life, and so they built that hall. After my grandma's funeral, I asked my mom about how long did it take for them to build the hall. Because you got to think in 1972, at a time where there was just still a lot of chaos and a lot of, you know, it was that we're getting ready for the AIM movement. You got to think of this era and what it was like, right? And so to build a hall with community resources and community energy, my understanding is they did hire a contractor, but it was the community that did it. And the family and the clans all came to work and built this hall. They went out to the bush and they harvested the logs themselves. Like, I am so blown away. I couldn't imagine, like I look at little tiny Stellat'en now and our resources, but to do that at that time, they all came together to make my grandmother's dream and vision come true for the community, for a whole, like a whole community. And it happened. It happened and they made it happen. It took about 3 years for the community to build this hall. So I don't think there was a whole lot of funding other than that, right? I mean, the blueprints is what we got from the DIA and then First Citizens Fund, and they hired one contractor, but the rest was done by community. Next slide. This is the hall opening. You could tell it's the 70s. I wasn't born at this time. There's my Uncle Jimmy there holding the blanket in the back. But that's my Auntie Amy, and she is wearing a regalia, I believe, made by my grandmother as well. And this is, yeah, the hall opening. Like, look at these smiles and look at those logs. I was like, wow, that's beautiful. Painted, and that hall isn't too big. It's actually quite small, but I mean, for us, it's small now because we're so much bigger, but then I could imagine what it looked like because I used to think it was the biggest hall ever. This is where I learned the potlatch. as a little girl. And to think about the vision my grandmother had that impacts me and now my children is just a beautiful thing. That's clanship. My grandmother put that out for her great 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 grandbabies, and they're going to come, and it's a beautiful thing because that hall still stands. But it suffered a lot over the years. Again, it was the 70s. It needed a full renovation. There was some talk about it, coming down. And my saltus, and my saltus means my is sister in Dakelh, but but when you translate it, it means the strongest part of me. My saltuses and our community and family decided that it wasn't going to come down and that it just needed to be renovated. So next slide. So what ended up happening is this is our awesome project manager, Juanita. Juanita is my saltus. She is the daughter of Betty Ann, granddaughter of Mary Ann Andrew Louis. And our family and our community basically decided that we had to fundraise. So we fundraised for 2 years straight on Facebook. We were doing bingos. We were doing sorry, one sec. We were doing bingos, we were doing pull tabs, they had fundraisers, Looney Toony auctions. This is also lining up with around the time of 150 celebration. And so she applied for that funding. And yeah, she redid the whole hall. We redid the whole hall. So the hall was redone. We got a new roof, new foundation. You could see the original logs on the inside. They were insulated properly. That roof is tiled roof. It's got that 70s flair. That's still there. So they kept a lot of the original stuff, but they did give it a natural, they gave it new flooring, new heating, new bathrooms, an actual working kitchen for functions like potlatching and whatnot. And so it took a few years, but it was done. It's fully done. And I want to say snachalia to my family for that, especially Juanita. The community did honor Juanita. And it was around the year of the forest fires. Fraser Lake was coming in with 2 forest fires in 2017, and it was just horrific. This is the time, this is when I was around there. So this is when they were working on it. And thankfully it didn't get to the community because that would have been a huge loss if it hit our community. It was pretty close. But they honored her and thanked her for all her work as well. So not only was she running that, she was like the emergency person for all the forest fires in our community. So great job, Juanita. Just amazing. I absolutely love her. And it got done. Let's go to the next slide. And there it is. It's a winter picture, but that's the hall. That's my grandma's hall that she had a vision for an entire community, nation, and future generations. Over 500 people attended her funeral. It was in the province. It was in the province. That speaks volumes about her leadership and what she brought to her work. And I am so grateful for her. I'm sure we had a conversation before I came to be on earth because I embody some of those qualities, and I am so grateful, for a woman I didn't meet in person. I am so proud to be her granddaughter and to carry those teachings, because from a grandmother's vision in a time that was dire, in a time where our children were, being neglected. There was no systems in place after residential school closed. There was no systems in place when they were dealing with students who were trying to figure out what just happened. And there was babies involved. So my grandmother just stepped up, and this is it. We have this beautiful little hall that I learned to potlatch in, and my daughters and their daughters hopefully one day, and their children. Like it's just so moving to me that a whole community brought this together because of one person's vision. And I think if we all have that same vision, if we go back to Natsamat, we are all one. If we go back to all the teachings and all the, the things that we're learning through the ICS training and all the webinars, the messages, we are all one and we can do this. And so no matter how drastic it looks and how awful those reports are, every day you can choose to do something that will make a difference in the way you do things, and it's just changing your mindset. I know it kind of sounds cheesy, but if I didn't believe that, I wouldn't be where I am. And I know that I have a whole clan to support my idea, and this is proof. This hall is absolute proof it can get done. It took years, but it happened. And so I just wanted to say that, just to be of service, just to be kind, to take those things. Don't worry about how big it is, because all those little steps led to the building of that hall, and now it gets to stand for another 100 years. And I am grateful for that. Awetza. Next slide. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share a story about my family, our clan system, a little bit. It's such an broad overview too. There's so many layers, but I just wanted to share the importance of coming together, the importance of working it out. And I will say a lot of those people were not in getting paid for that. So go above your job title, and sometimes it's a little bit after hours, after you're done work, but there's ways of getting things done.
A huge merci. Thank you to Nicole for sharing with all of us here today about that strong matrilineal line that you come from and what that means in the work that you do. I think that Vancouver Coastal Health is just beyond lucky to have somebody with such strong upbringing and values to be a part of this team and to, bring cultural safety to the patients and clients that all of us work with here. So just a big thank you again. I really loved your comparison throughout the whole presentation about how this work is all of our responsibility, and reflecting that your experience and your community's experience with clanship and how it's all of our work to bring goodness into this world, right? And then in the face of such adversity too, I hear in your story you're talking about your family, your grandparents, about them continuing to do the potlatch in a time when the Canadian government said that it was forbidden, right? And there was serious threats to community members at that time if they were found out to be continuing these methods that have been here since time immemorial. And I just want to share, we have lots of things coming in the chat about people sharing that this is inspiring to them, and that it's touching and it's beautiful to hear your words.
I'll say really quickly, my grandmother, before she died, was charged with her hunting. I guess she shot a moose, and she was arrested just before her death and was supposed to go to court after her death. But she went to her death honoring her hunting rights as well. Food sovereignty, and so to hear these things as I'm starting to explore more with my aunts and hearing about my grandmother, it's really inspiring, because it just takes that same sort of mindset. And I think we can move mountains, because I always say clans can move mountains. If you think of an ant colony and the amount they can move, that's how I see clan work. And that's how I wanted to make everybody today an honorary clan member. And I ask you to join me and make a difference little by little. Like, what's going on in your, what's not working, what you've thought about this. Everybody's an expert at what doesn't work, but you also think about what would work. And that's what you need to be brave and step out of the box and say, hey, let's try this. Because as clan members, we don't have a book. There is no written book on how to be a clan. This is hundreds and hundreds of years of just knowing and embodying and being and learning by example. My mom never said we do this because we're a clan member. You know, nobody ever said that to me. I was just in it. And then once I stepped out and looked in, I was like, wow, that is a beautiful thing. So sometimes zoom out, take a look at what's going on, think about the problem or how a solution. Always think of a solution. Always envision what you want it to be, because that's what we do as a clan. And then we act on it, and we don't know how to make it work. We just do it. There's lots of mistakes. I am sure we've made a lot of mistakes as clan, but we've always come together and we always get the work done. And then when the work's done, then we rest. We do not stop, and we're talking days.
I
But I'm not saying,
appreciate
sorry, go ahead.
I said I appreciate you bringing in this aspect of humility. You know, you're talking about the fact that mistakes can sometimes be made, right? But that shouldn't stop us from doing good work, right? And to taking those steps to creating better health outcare and outcomes for the folks that we serve. So there's a question that came through, Nicole. How as healthcare providers can we best work together and be in service of our current system?
Yes, this is what I want. Yes. So when we had this conversation, Nisha, I said, you know, I have to think, what is it to be a clan? I said, is to be of service. So to be of service for me as a clan member is to show up. We show up even when our heart's broken and our loved ones passed on. Last year, we suffered some losses in our family, and it's difficult to not potlatch. It's difficult to not gather to comfort each other. We're a clan. We're not. There's no I in clan. I don't mourn alone. I mourn with many. And but we find our strength in a collectiveness, and we come together. But to be in to like I represent my clan by myself wherever I am every day, even though I'm in Vancouver. I am like Tsiel, and I will go out and I will make sure I will make my clan proud no matter where I go. That means showing up to other communities, other nations, being respectful of where I am, and just showing up and being there the best I can. And like I said earlier, clan business before band business, because we all have things we don't like, or people we don't like, or the neighbors across the street. But if I invite you to my house, I'm going to be nice to you and I'm going to be the best host. And we're going to drop all that because we're bigger. We're bigger than that. Those are just little things divide people and relationships and stop opportunities. And so as a clan, I can't think about me. I have to think about everybody. We're all in this together, not sama. We are all one. Or some people say we're all in the same canoe, right?
Yeah.
We can't do this alone. So to be of service as a clan member in the health field would be to be there, to offer what you can, and understand that um, it really takes compassion and heart-led work, and and that's important to bring into our work. My grandmother brought her heart into this work. She didn't know all these babies were coming. She didn't see us coming unless she did. But here we are, and we get to be a part of that and still live her vision. And that's beautiful. And I can only imagine how drastic it would have been at that time. It was horrible when you're coming out of residential school, the alcohol, the fighting, the drinking. There was so much violence at that time in those communities, in all our communities, not just my community, in all communities across Turtle Island at that time. It was awful. And so my grandmother stepped up and decided that she was going to leave something for the kids. And I'm so grateful. I am so grateful because now we all benefit. So when you take those, take those essence, the essence of my grandmother, her spirit, and just kind of bring it into your work. That's, where things need to be worked out. You know where the problems are in your office or the program or the system. And all I'm saying is you also know the solutions, and be brave. Be brave to bring them up. It's time to change a system that's not working. And we all know that. We have report after report after report. And I just want you to take those things and think about it, and maybe go sit on the land and ask.
Hmm. Something that I really like that you've mentioned in your presentation, Nicole, is that this work as part of a clan, as you're describing, it doesn't stop at any time.
No.
And so when I reflect this to Indigenous cultural safety and for all of the folks on the call and all of the people within our health authority, is that this is ongoing work for everybody. And our learning is not going to stop at the end of this webinar. It's not going to stop with the trainings that are offered by the Aboriginal health team, right? And so I'm hoping maybe you could talk a little bit more or explain a little bit more about how this is a lifelong journey. Similar to
Yeah.
clan work, this is lifelong, right?
Well, even my journey is a lifelong journey. I'm, have my master's in planning, but my degree in Indigenous studies, and I'm at the tip of my own family history. So the ongoing understanding the effects of colonization and Indigenous peoples is going to be part of your work, because an Indigenous person cannot be divided by category. You cannot separate my health from my education. You cannot separate my culture from my everyday existence. It's a holistic, I'm a holistic being, and my culture is always going to influence the way I carry myself when I do my job. My education is still influencing me and how I look at the world, but also to be critical of it and to challenge it. And that's the thing. We need to be brave to challenge um, anything that just doesn't seem to be working. And right now it seems to be a lot when we're talking about providing care, especially when I'm thinking about the insight report and just taking all of that in. And it makes my voice shake when I think about it, because it doesn't need to be like that in 2021. Now is the time, and this is where being of service can really impact and change our healthcare system, especially in such an awful time, because literally we're all dealing with COVID. So it just impacts it even more, right? But when you embody that spirit of being a good host, you treat others with respect. You're mindful of your words and not to offend anybody. These are the ways I have to act in Potlatch. I have to be mindful of where I walk, and I don't break anything when I'm handing out gifts. I always make sure I look everybody in the eye. Even if there's 100 people down the line and I'm handing them a gift, I always say, they say thank you. And I tell my daughters, and you say 100, you're welcomes. It doesn't matter how many times you said you're welcome, because my job as a host is to welcome you and treat you, feed you, and ask you to witness this important work. And that's what we can do now. We can all witness a beautiful change for everybody. And it just means showing up, being kind, be ready to be of service. Sometimes it stops after you clock out. Sometimes it's just being kind and going to the community center, dropping off donations. You can be a clan member, not from work, in life. Take care of the community you're in. Take care of the ones around you. Check on your neighbor. You know, it's there's lots of ways to do it, and that will really impact the way things can go forward. So that's what I teach my daughters. I don't know if that's helpful, but even in the restaurant, we acknowledge all our servers by their name because they wear name tags. And people are blown away that young children will say, "Thank you, Anthony." And they're like, "What? No kid talks to me like that, because we're too busy doing this. We're doing this. We're not talking to the ones around us." Well, in a clan, you can't do that. You can't ignore them.
I just want to share some comments from the chat with you, Nicole. So we have some folks here who are going to try to maybe reshift how they think about their team and try to bring in some of these values that you shared about from coming from a clanship community. And so I just want to share that with you because I think it really shows how moving this presentation is for people to think about their role at Vancouver Coastal Health from the clan lens, right?
Yeah. There's no I in
Mhm.
clan. Let's just say that. Let's just hashtag that. There is no I in clan, right?
Hashtag, there is no I in clan.
There is no I in clan, so you can't do it by yourself. And
Mm,
that's what we do at Aboriginal Health. Shout out to Aboriginal Health and the clan that I get to work with. I am so grateful because there's no way you could do this work by yourself. So I am in charge of the Perinatal Substance Use Project, project lead. That's heavy. Like the title is heavy itself, not even talking about the work. And I had to embody that and say, okay, what does that mean? And that's when I was like, everybody's going to do their part. Everybody has to do their part. It's not just me. We all have to show up for this. And once we all lift up a little piece of the work isn't so heavy. Think of those ants again. Watch ants. Watch the ant pile. Remember my slide, my ant pile? Same thing. They're strong, amazing matriarchs. So that's who I embody.
yeah, I just wanted to say a big merci. Thank you again. We're coming to the end of our time together, and I wish it wasn't the end. I just really appreciate this message, you know, Nicole, that you shared throughout, that systemic change is possible. We can make healthcare safe for Indigenous people. It is possible.
Mm-hmm.
And we can get there by embodying these values that you've shared with us today, that come from your territory and your family of clanship. And so I just thank you for sharing that wisdom with us all, that, you know, the load really is lighter when we carry it together.
I want to acknowledge my grandmother, Mary Ann Louie, and just give her gratitude for giving me the gifts that I need to be, especially in my role here. And I am honored to take this journey.
Hmm. Thank you. And I would like, if it's okay, to appreciate your grandmother Marianne as well, because through her today, all of us are getting teachings about that change is possible, that things are difficult, but we can build
Yes.
structures, right? Just like Marianne built the
Yep.
structure in your community, we can create the structures for change at BCH.
Yeah, it's possible. If a woman can do it in the 70s with the Indian agent, then I know we can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you everybody for joining us today. I hope we'll see everybody at our next Pesca Pick session. And again, a big thank you to our ASL interpreters, to the Indigenous Cultural Safety Team, and the biggest thank you, and I raise my
Thank
hands to
you.
you, Nicole, for being with us and sharing your wisdom today. Thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.